you're thinking about moving to Texas, but you're not sure which city is right for you, well then stay tuned because this video is a must watch. My aim for this video is to make it the most detailed, the most definitive comparison between Austin, Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, and San Antonio. And I don't want to just give you my opinion on which city may be right for you. That's actually for you to decide. So in this video, I'm going to focus a lot on using factual data so that you can walk away from this video hopefully having learned something new and hopefully being able to make a decision on which city would be the best for you. In order to do this, I'm going to look at the following criteria: cost of living, housing costs, the economic climate and job opportunities, the school systems, the weather, safety and crime rates within each of these large 4 metroplexes, and we're going to finish off with an overall city vibe, or in other words, what does each city have to offer, or what is there to do in each of these large 4 cities? In order to come to a definitive conclusion, what I'd like to do is create a scoring system. So we are comparing 4 cities. So the system is as follows. The city that finishes first place will get 4 points. The city that finishes in second will get 3 points, followed by 2 points, and the city that finishes last is only going to get 1 point. And because we're going to be looking at factual data, which a lot of them have to do with numerical data and statistics, and we have my scoring system, in this video I will be throwing a lot of numbers at you, and bear with me because I'll be doing a whole lot of math. And now that we have a scoring system in place, I want to get started with the comparison. And I think a good starting point is to just look at the overall cost of living. In order to do this, I'm going to be relying on what's known as the cost of living index score. This is a score that's comprised of the following criteria, and bear with me, I am going to look at my notes here because I want to make sure I have it correct. The cost of living index score takes into account these following items: housing costs, food costs, healthcare costs, transportation costs, utility costs, and overall goods and services. The national average is given a score, and that score is 100. And if a city ranks below 100, then it's more affordable. And if a city ranks above 100, then it's less affordable. So let's get into our comparison, starting with Austin. Austin has a cost of living index score of 129.1. Dallas has a score of 100.2, right at the national average. Houston has a score of 96.9. And San Antonio has a score of 91.3. So as you can see, San Antonio has a cost of living index score of 91.3, meaning that it's far more affordable to live in San Antonio as compared with Austin. In this comparison, San Antonio comes in first place, so it earns 4 points. Houston comes in second, so it earns 3 points. Dallas Fort Worth with 2, and then in last place for cost of living is Austin, which earns just 1 point. Now, if cost of living is the most important factor for you, then we can stop the video right here. You have your answer, it's San Antonio. However, I think it makes sense to look deeper into this analysis. One of the things that really skews the cost of living score index are housing costs, and I want to take a deeper look into that, so that is our next category. So let's compare each city's housing situation. And as a quick overview, I want to let you know what's going on in Texas as a whole. So Texas actually is the #1 fastest growing state in the entire country, which means that many people are choosing to leave their home states and move into Texas. And in turn, the 4 cities that we are comparing in this video are also among the fastest growing cities in the entire country. Now, there are many reasons for this fast growth, and I think at the top of the list are the affordable housing costs. Now, I do understand that over the last couple of years, home prices have skyrocketed. I know that in the last year and a half, they've come down a little bit, but one of the reasons why so many people are choosing to move to these large 4 cities is because, relatively speaking, if we were to look at a map of the United States and see where people are moving from, they're moving into Texas from areas where home costs are much higher. So for example, people are moving into Texas from Northern California and Southern California on the West Coast, also from Seattle, Washington, and then on the East Coast, they're moving in from areas like New York and New Jersey, Philadelphia, or Miami, Florida, where home costs are just so much higher than they are here in Texas. Now, I understand there's a lot of reasons why people are moving to Texas, but I think on the top of the list is affordable home prices. So with that general overview of what's going on in Texas out of the way, let's dive into our analysis here on housing. And I'd like to start with going over what the average home prices are in each of these 4 cities. The average home prices in Austin are $527K. In Dallas, it's $439,000. In Houston, it's $260,000. And in San Antonio, it's $251,000. By far, home prices are the highest in Austin. They're actually more than double the cost of homes in San Antonio. So if we were to award points, San Antonio would earn 4 points, followed by Houston with 3 points, Dallas-Fort Worth with 2 points, and then Austin with just 1 point. And now that we know what the average home prices are in each of these 4 cities, I'd like to break it down even further because you might be thinking, okay, great, I know what the average home prices are, but what does that mean for me on a monthly basis? What will I be paying for these homes? And so I'd like to run a scenario where we are using a 6.5% interest rate on a 30-year fixed mortgage, and we're assuming a 2.6% property tax rate. Now, real quickly on property taxes, I'd like to mention that in the state of Texas, property taxes are higher than the national average, and they can vary from city to city, and within each city they can actually vary from community to community. And so for the sake of this exercise, we're going to be using a 2.6% property tax rate. Now, when we apply this scenario, Austin comes in with an average mortgage payment of $4,008 per month. This is your full PITI, your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. In Dallas, it's $3,371. In Houston, it's $2,082. And in San Antonio, it's $2,017. And it's also important that we look at what the average home sizes are, because it's possible that in Austin, you can be paying a lot more in your monthly mortgage payment, but maybe you're getting a much bigger house. So let's take a look at what those numbers are. The average home size in Austin is 2,134 square feet. In Dallas, it's 1,968. In Houston, it's 2,015. And in San Antonio, the average home size is 2,256 square feet. This shows that you're getting the biggest bang for your buck in San Antonio when it comes to housing. All right, let's keep digging deeper into housing and let's compare the price per square foot. When we do that, Austin has a price per square foot of $1.88. Dallas, $1.71. Houston, $1.03. And San Antonio, 79 cents per square foot. When it comes to buying a home and housing affordability, San Antonio appears to be the clear winner so far. But in this comparison, I also want to include rental prices because it's possible you want to move to either of these 4 cities and not necessarily buy a house, but look into renting a property. So I want to provide you that information as well. And now that we've taken an in-depth look at housing costs and rental costs, I want to tally up the points for each of these categories that we just discussed. And after having done that, San Antonio comes in first with 27 points, followed by Houston with 22 points, and then in third place is Dallas-Fort Worth with 15 points. And in the category of housing, Austin comes in last place with only 14 points. Let's move on to the next category, which is the economic environment and job opportunities. To assess this, I'll be looking at the following 3 factors. I'll be looking at the unemployment rate, the average household income, and also the main employment sectors within each of these large 4 cities. The unemployment rate will let us know how each local economy is doing. The average household income will let us know which city may have the higher salaries. And the main employment sector will let us know what type of jobs are predominant in each of those areas. And to set a baseline, the national unemployment rate is currently at 3.7%. And here are the unemployment rates for each of these 4 cities. Austin comes in with an unemployment rate of 2.9%. Dallas is at 3.6%. Houston is at 3.7%, right at the national average. and San Antonio is at 3.2%. The good thing is that none of these 4 cities comes in with an unemployment rate above the national average, which is an indicator that Texas as a whole is doing very well economically. Here are the numbers for the average household income. Based on average household income, we can infer that Austin has the higher salary. And I think that makes sense with the rapid growth in tech. Also, I think that salaries in Austin need to be higher to keep up with the higher cost of living and the higher housing costs. It's also important to know what the main employment sectors are within each of these 4 cities. For example, if you are somebody that's currently working in tech and you want to move to an area where there are a lot of opportunities in tech, then definitely Austin would be an area for you to consider, as well as Dallas-Fort Worth. So let me get into the primary fields. And if we look at Austin, it's tech startups and government jobs. Now you might be surprised to hear government jobs for Austin. However, it does make sense because Austin is the state capital. In Dallas, it's primarily finance and tech. In Houston, it's primarily oil and gas, and in San Antonio, it's primarily military and government jobs. Here's how each city scored in this category. Austin came in first place with 12 points, followed by Dallas-Fort Worth with 9 points, followed by San Antonio with 8 points, and then Houston with 7 points. Let's move on to category number 4, which is schools and education. If you're watching this video and you have a family and you have young children, then I'm sure that schools and education is probably at the top of your list when considering where to move. I'll be looking into schools and education by looking at which city has the most top-rated schools, what their SAT scores are, and also what their graduation rates are. Of the 4 cities, Austin has the top-rated school. However, Dallas-Fort Worth has a greater number of top-ranking schools, followed by Houston and then San Antonio. Here are the numbers for the average SAT scores for each region. Austin has an average SAT score of 1230, Dallas with 1390, Houston with 1234, and San Antonio with 1017. For the graduation rates, Austin comes in at 86%, Dallas with 81%, Houston with 89%, and San Antonio with 80.7% graduation rate. If you're weighing education heavily in this analysis, and that's one of your top priorities, then definitely Dallas-Fort Worth would be an area for you to consider, especially areas like Frisco and Plano and Prosper, which have some amazing school districts. Overall, Dallas-Fort Worth did really well in this category by earning 10 points, followed very closely by Austin and Houston, which tied with 9 points, and then far behind is San Antonio with only 3 points. Moving on, let's get into the weather. Texas has a wide array of different weather conditions, and some are considered to be extreme weather conditions like hurricanes or tornadoes. So let's get into all the details. All of the 4 cities do endure extremely hot summer conditions, but of the 4 cities, Houston does stand out because of its humidity. And all of the 4 cities do endure very cold winter conditions. However, both Dallas and San Antonio stand out for having the coldest weather conditions. The more extreme weather conditions are going to be found in the southern part of Texas and then also in the northern part of Texas. So in the southern part of Texas, we do endure hurricane-like weather, and so that's going to affect Houston the most. And then in the northern part of Texas, from time to time, we will have tornadoes, and that's going to affect Dallas-Fort Worth the most. All 4 cities are going to score evenly when it comes to lightning storms. Now, the reason why I mentioned lightning storms is number 1, Texas has the most amount of lightning storms in the country, so that is something that you should know. And lightning storms are known to cause property damage in the case of a direct strike. In the category of weather, Austin finished in first place with 17 points, followed by San Antonio with 15 points. This makes a lot of sense given where they're located within Texas. Both Austin and San Antonio are centrally located. Finishing in third place is Dallas with 14 points, followed by Houston with 10 points. When choosing an area to move into, it's so important to know whether that area is safe or not. So for this comparison, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at 3 things. I'm going to look at the violent crime rate, the property crime rate, and then just the overall homeless population within each of these large 4 cities. The violent crime rates are calculated per 1,000 residents, and the lower the number, the better. The national average for crime rates within a city is 5.6%. However, for large cities, the national average is 8.6%, and that's the number that we're going to be focusing on when comparing these 4 cities. And here are the violent crime rates. For Austin, it's 5.38. For Dallas, it's 7.71. For Houston, it's 11.35. And for San Antonio, it's 8.83. Property crime rates are also calculated per 1,000 residents. Here are the property crime rates. Austin with 36.24. Dallas coming in at 38.36. Houston, 45.98. San Antonio, 50.75. And here is the estimated homeless population for each of these cities. Austin, 2,506. Dallas-Fort Worth, 4,570. Houston, 3,270. And San Antonio, 2,995. Now please do keep in mind that you do have to adjust for the size of the city. For example, Houston is the largest of the 4. It's actually the 4th largest city in the country. And so the fact that Houston has 3,270 given its overall population isn't too bad. We should also keep in mind that all cities do have crime. And of these 4 large metroplexes, it's very impressive to see how safe Austin, Texas is. As far as points are concerned, Austin earned the most points with 12, followed by Dallas-Fort Worth with 7, followed by San Antonio with 6 points, and then Houston with 5 points. Okay, now for the fun part. We are done with our statistical analysis. We are done with our comparison of these 4 cities, and we get to tally up the points and we get to see who the clear winner is. Now, before we do that, I do want to mention that if you're somebody that's thinking about moving to either of these 4 cities, I don't think you can go wrong because these are some of the best cities in the country. They have something very unique. Each one has something amazing to offer you, but I'm sure that's not what you want to hear. You want to get to tallying up the points and finding out which city comes ahead. So let's go ahead and do that. I have tallied up the numbers, and the winner with 69 points is Austin, Texas. In second place is San Antonio with 65 points. In third place, it's Dallas-Fort Worth with 60 points. And then finishing in fourth is Houston with 57 points. I gotta say, I am a little bit surprised by the results. I'm pleasantly surprised with how well San Antonio did, finishing in second, but I'm equally as surprised that Dallas-Fort Worth finished in third place. But let's keep in mind that these are statistical scores, and this is not really how we make our decisions in life. I do want to mention 2 things about this scoring system. The first thing is that everything is weighted evenly, and that's not exactly how we make our decisions. For example, if you are somebody that's very young and you're starting out in your career and you don't yet have a family or children, you're not going to weigh the schools the same as you would the economic environment. So please do keep that in mind. And the second thing I want to mention is that this is all statistical analysis. This is just raw data. That's also not how we make our decisions. This has removed the human element out of the equation, and I want to put some of that in here. So I understand that that's subjective, but I think it's required because we are human and we make our decisions a lot of times based on emotions. So I do want to add one more category to this analysis, and that category is things to do within each city. For this category, I want to look into which city has the best food and restaurants, which city has the best shopping and outdoor activities, which city has the best nightlife, which city has the most arts and museums, and also if there's a music scene within these cities. So let me quickly go over the results. For food and restaurants, per many publications that I've researched, Austin continuously comes up in first place. It's actually ranked among the top 10 cities in the entire country for its restaurants. Austin is closely followed by Dallas, and then Houston, and then San Antonio. For shopping, Dallas comes in first, followed by Houston, and then Austin, and then San Antonio. For outdoor activities, Austin ranks in first, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that there's a lot of bodies of water in Austin, and it has hill country, which offers you a variety of different topography, allowing you to have different outdoor activities. Austin has some beautiful biking and hiking trails. Austin is followed closely by San Antonio, which also has similar topography, and then followed by Houston and then Dallas. For nightlife, Austin barely edges out Dallas, but Austin comes in first, then Dallas, and then Houston, and then San Antonio. For the music scene, Austin comes in first. Austin is known as the music capital of the US, followed by Houston, and then Dallas, and then San Antonio. The total scores for this category are Austin with 20 points, followed with a tie between Dallas and Houston, both coming in with 16 points, and then San Antonio with 8 points. This is an interesting category because San Antonio finished last in this category. However, it finished first in cost of living and it finished first for the lowest housing cost. So San Antonio would be a great option for you if you're just looking for a place where it's the most affordable. However, it appears that of the 4 cities, it has the least amount of things to do. Now, if we include these scores to our initial set of analytical scores, we would have a good blend of objective and subjective total scores. I think this is going to be a comprehensive score, and to me, once we tally up these numbers, then we'll know who our clear winner is. So here are the final scores. Drum roll, please. In first place is Austin, Texas with 88 points. In second place is Dallas, Fort Worth with 76 points. In third place is San Antonio with 74 points. And then Houston comes in with 73 points. Here's what's interesting about these scores. I wanted to double check to see if my analysis was accurate. And in looking at all of these categories, I realized basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to quantify the residents of these 4 cities. I'm trying to quantify what their quality of life is. Now, the good thing is that there is a quality of life index score. And so when I did the research, I found out that in first place for quality of life was Austin with an index score of 6.4. It had the highest quality of life, followed by Dallas at 6.1, followed by San Antonio in third place with 5.9, and then came Houston with a quality of life index score of 5.0. The quality of life index score matched up perfectly with the analysis that we just performed. So I have a lot of confidence in our analysis. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I wanted this to be the most detailed and the most comprehensive look at which city may be right for you. So I'm hoping that you learned a lot of information. I do apologize for the amount of math that was in this video. I know that can get boring, but I do want to provide you with factual data that you can walk away with. And if you're somebody that's like me, I'm more of an analytical person. I make my decisions based on a combination of both analytical data and then also subjective data by how I feel about something. But I do put a greater weight into the analytical side of things. So if you're like me, I'm hoping you appreciated all this information. My name is Ahmad Homidi. If you have any questions about relocating to any of these 4 cities, please do reach out. I would love to be a resource for you. I will see you again in the next video.